Welcome back, Data Heroes. What a great day we've had so far. Really enjoy all of the dialogue and commentary in the chat, as well as the sessions that we've had so far today. So up next, we have Eric Melcher, Profisee Chief Technology Officer, and Martin Boyd, who you've seen many times today, VP of Product Marketing. We're going to piggyback off of Malcolm's earlier presentation about the future of MDM, but Martin and Eric will showcase how Profisee is leading and leading into the future of MDM with a session called Adaptive Master Data Management in Action. Take it away, Martin and Eric.
All right, everybody. Now's the time of the day where we're going to talk about adaptive master data management and how we go about MDM. We'll talk a little bit more about ourselves and a bit about how we go about helping you and helping folks adopt master data management. All right, let me share my screen and we will get started here. This I'm going to do a little bit of introduction here, kind of talking a little bit about adaptive master data management is a general topic, but then the bulk of this is going to be Eric, our CTO, the other person you can see on the screen here, presenting the product, actually showing you live software and showing you the in-action part of how this actually all comes together in our software. Okay, so what is adaptive master data management, first of all? Well, adaptive is kind of a philosophy. It's something that we've been doing for a long time as a company. So I'm just going to highlight a couple of things about our approach to adaptiveness, as it were, and then we'll get into how we actually build that into our software. So we work very hard to make sure that we adapt to our customers and their journey so that we're meeting them where they are in terms of their business problem, their need, their approach to a solution, and the things that are going to make them successful. So there's a lot of things go into this, but at the end of the day, we measure our net promoter score. Not very many in the MDM space do this, but we do because we think it's part of the value proposition that we have for our customers. So net promoter score, if you're not familiar with the methodology, is that it's the number of people who would promote you minus the number of people that would be detractors. An average score for enterprise software is about 41, a high score is 55, and our measured score is 78. So as I said, a lot of things go into that. Our professional services, our support, our software itself, our customer services folks, and our customer success team. But at the end of the day, it's all about helping make sure that customers are successful with their journey, their data, their approach to their business objectives. So we're very much into adapting to our customers' requirements and their journey. Second thing to talk about here is that we work very much with the major platform vendors and adjacent enterprise software. We have what we call a composable strategy, where we make sure that our software is designed to fit in to the way that other software works, so that because MDM typically touches a lot of other pieces of software, and if we can make that an easy thing to deploy, then everything will be much better. So in particular, we work with Microsoft, and a few weeks ago, we were awarded Partner of the Year, finalist in Rising Azure Technology Award out of over 4,000 companies that submitted for that. What that means is that over a long period of time, we have been working with folks like Microsoft, and in particular Microsoft, to make sure our software works very seamlessly with theirs in terms of the tech stack, in terms of specific integrations, and being a vendor that is relatively easy to work with, again, so that we can help our customers get most out of their software most quickly. So that's an adaptive play as well. But the thing we're really here to talk about right now is our software and how it's deployed is very much adaptive. It's something that we've been working on for years. We spend more time talking about it now than we have in the past, because it is something that our customers tend to really, I think, appreciate, that over and above what traditional software really does. So what is the difference? Traditional MDM we hear from our customers and some analysts, people in the space, tends to be a little bit fixed and narrow. It can be difficult to configure and deploy because it may be pre-built around a particular use case or domain. And so if your use case or domain really matches what they've delivered, it may or may not work for you quickly, but more than likely, you're going to spend a lot of time reconfiguring it because it was not exactly what you needed. And so it can take, 6, 9, 12 months to get live. We hear that very frequently. We hear that from a lot of our customers. In fact, there's some of them speaking today where they've implemented other technologies in the past in other companies, and then they join a new company or a new situation and say, well, we don't want to do that again, and that's why they picked Profisee. It can also be very difficult to engage data stewards. We all, of course, want to automate as much as we possibly can, but there's always going to be a little bit of human oversight required because some of the data is kind of messed up and it requires a little bit of human intervention. When that happens, you want that to be efficient, but often with these traditional vendors, it isn't. You have them learning a whole platform in order to do relatively simple tasks. And all of that means either because it just takes a lot of time to get live, that you end up with limited domain coverage and not really getting to your broad objectives of managing all of your data. Or it could be because that they've just really built out one domain and you have to then go back and buy a whole another domain or another piece of software if you want to get to the second domain. All of these things we certainly limit your ability to get value. What we do instead, our focus around Adaptive, is that the software adapts to your organization, your data requirements, your people, and that makes it easier to adapt and much quicker and more effective at delivering value for you. So the attempt here is to make it fast and easy to deploy, easy to use, easy to expand. And as you will have heard from some of the people who are speaking today, that's something that we're largely successful at. And also that allows you to get to full coverage. We very much have a philosophy that you should be able to cover all your domains and all your reference data. And we make sure that that's something that is deployable within the software, all of which delivers improved engagement, improved implementation, and return on investment. So that's kind of the philosophy. Let's look at it at a product level, and then Eric's going to show you what this actually looks like. So if you look at the core capabilities or the core features of Profisee MDM platform, we have a lot of capability around match and merge, data quality, workflow, and data stewardship, and all of this is built on top of an entity model. So we have within this then adaptive coverage. Adaptive coverage is all about making sure that the software is capable of handling all of the master data domains, all of the reference data that you're going to want to cover. We have a belief here, and our customers agree with us, that the more coverage you can implement in the software, the more return on investment you can get, because the more use cases you're able to meet. So you're able to set up whatever it is you want in here. There are no technical or pricing limitations on you being able to do that. We also have adaptive rules. So whenever you do set up an entity model, you're able to build the rules for matching, merging, and survivorship on top of that to adapt to your source systems, your data requirements, your business objectives. The data quality rules also adapt to your governance requirements. Eric's going to show you a little bit about that. And if you have something like a Purview platform for Microsoft, how some of those things can be further enhanced. And the workflow adapts to your stewardship roles. So all of the rules-based part of how the system works adapts to your requirements. And then the stewardship part. So stewardship is where human beings get involved if they need to be involved. These people typically are not technical specialists. They're more specialists from the business, and we want to give them the most streamlined possible experience so that they can get in, do the work they've been asked to do, and then get out and get on with the rest of their job. So we have this concept and have had this concept in our software for years called fast apps. A fast app is the ability to build out a little mini application. It's built with, it's code free. So you can build it as quickly as you want. You can build as many as you want to do specific tasks like custom review, product maintenance, manager approvals, whatsoever. And the point is that they are role specific, task specific, and domain specific. So we're only going to give the data steward the minimum amount of stuff they need to look at in order to do their job. That maximizes engagement and minimizes effort. we've had these things in place for a long time, and they're, they're of course widely used. Just in the next upcoming version of the software this month, we have an AI-based stewardship copilot. So we're implementing AI as part of this experience in order to help streamline this even further and accelerate it. And also Microsoft Adaptive Cards integration, which means that data stewards now don't even necessarily need to log into Profisee in order to do their tasks. Eric, again, is going to show you all of that. So one final thing before I hand over to Eric to show you live software, I just want to emphasize or point out that in the demo you're going to see here, you're going to see a little bit more than just Profisee. I talked earlier about how our product is adaptive. It works with the adjacent software. In this case, we're doing a Microsoft-oriented demo, so we're going to show you a little bit of Purview. Purview is Microsoft's governance platform, and so Profisee makes Purview aware of all of the master data entities that it has, and Purview makes Profisee aware of all of the data governance rules that are to be implemented. So Profisee gets better if all the rules are already decided and we can implement them more quickly. Purview gets better and it delivers more value if the rules, the data policies that it has when it are actually enforced, which is what Profisee is going to be doing. We're also going to be showing you a little bit of Microsoft Fabric. This is something that was announced a couple of months ago by Microsoft. There's other sessions here today talking a little bit more about that. We think it's going to be a very consequential and important piece of software, or more than software, a whole approach to enterprise data management. It collects together or makes available a lot of the data that we're going to need in order to master it. And Profisee is better if the data is more available, which Fabric makes the data more available. And Fabric is better if data is unified and trusted, which is what Profisee is going to do with that data. And overall, if the data is better, everything is better, is kind of our philosophy here. So Eric's going to show you how all of these things interact. And with that, one final thing before we jump into it. What Eric is going to do is take the perspective of a business or analytics user and kind of look at the data and then kind of operate, go through the cycle of looking at the MDM process, looking at the data, and then looking at the resulting reports and metrics and figuring out how they can be improved. We're going to start with just looking at raw data as a business analyst, and just raw meaning not master data, and discovered that there's some problems in it. He's going to go through a whole improvement process and just illustrate to you some of the steps that are available within the software, everything from governance through matching and stewardship, data quality, the stewardship AI copilot, and the adaptive cards, and then eventually return back to the data so that the improved data now, so that you can actually see that it's working better and is more appropriate. So with that, let me stop talking and hand over to Eric. And he's going to show some software. Let me stop sharing first so that Eric can share his screen. There we go.
All right. Thanks, Martin. All right. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
All right, great. So as Martin mentioned, we're really going to show kind of a journey around master data management here. And we're going to begin our journey here in Microsoft Fabric. So as Martin mentioned, Microsoft Fabric is a major new product that Microsoft announced at their Build conference in May. Profisee was fortunate enough to actually be a private preview participant with Fabric. So we've actually been working with the Fabric team for quite some time. And what we'll show here is not just what is Fabric and how does MDM play a role, but also how has Profisee been exposed within the Fabric experience natively as well. So what Fabric is a new SaaS analytics platform. It's really brings together several pre-existing products from Microsoft, namely Power BI, tools like Synapse, Data Factory, et cetera. And whereas in the past you had to go turn all these independent workloads on separately, typically with a data lake behind them, with Fabric it brings all those products together into one SaaS experience. So now within Fabric, you can see here that when I go to create a new resource within my Fabric workspace, I have access to all those different underlying workloads. So I can store data, I can move data, I can analyze data, I can do data engineering, et cetera, all from within this single pane of glass. So this is a Fabric-enabled workspace. You can see it indicated here by this little diamond icon. And within this workspace, you can see we have a variety of different item types that are all available within this one comprehensive experience. So in this demo, we're going to start off operating the persona of a data analyst who's been asked to do some sort of customer analysis. And when we open up this customer analysis, this is BI content that was deployed into this Fabric workspace. And my goal here is to understand a little more detail about my customers. So clearly I can use Power BI within the Fabric experience to create great looking analytic content. But as often the case, the actual data inside of here, or the insights are only as good as the data that it's sitting on top of. And here we can see a pretty common issue that we encounter typically when doing analytics, which is, some duplicate records, right? So obviously these look to be potentially the same organization behind the scenes. There's multiple examples of that within the data set. And, historically, one solution might be to go in here and do some sort of manual data cleanup or consolidation. But, long-term, that's not really a sustainable solution. So, what I really need in my role is access to good quality data for me to build my analytics. Now, as is the case with many organizations, finding that data can be difficult. Information can live in, various databases, data stores, data lakes, independent, personal repositories. And so, the first question is, okay, does that data exist already somewhere at my organization? Now, in this scenario, my organization has adopted Microsoft Purview. Microsoft Purview is Microsoft's data governance platform. And it's named Microsoft Purview versus Azure Purview because the goal of Microsoft Purview is to actually provide governance across your entire data estate. So that could obviously be data that exists within your Azure tenants, but it could also be data that lives on premise. It could be data that lives in other cloud service providers like AWS or GCP, et cetera. And so the goal of Purview is to help catalog all of that data together into a data map, which provides sort of searchability access, but as well as ultimately capabilities like security, privacy, and a place for the CDOs of organizations to have one-stop shopping for understand everything that they have and start to manage the rights and privileges to that data. Now, Profisee has a bidirectional integration with Microsoft Purview. What that means is when you hook Profisee up to a Purview account, we automatically publish all of the Profisee assets into Purview, and that allows Profisee to participate in governance alongside the rest of your data estate. So in this scenario, I'm looking for some customer data, and I go ahead and just do a search here. And since Profisee's master data has been published into Purview as assets, and master data is inherently a certified asset, we see here that right at the top of our search results is this customer B2B entity asset. And here we can see, the technical metadata that has been published in here by Profisee. So all the various columns within this data set, their data types. We can see, that there's a matching process in play here. We can see how golden records are being formed within this data set. We can see contacts. We can see the schemas and glossary terms that are associated. So the raw asset was published into Purview, but then governance occurs over the top of that, which now allows us to have even richer metadata about this asset. So, in my role, this looks like something that is of interest that might help solve my original problem. And what's nice here is we can actually navigate from Purview into Profisee. So while Purview understands the existence of this data asset, Purview doesn't actually hold any data, right? So what we're now able to do is actually navigate from Purview into the Profisee experience. But again, this is a bidirectional integration. So as governance occurs within Purview, that same information is actually available for consumption within Profisee. So we can see glossary terms, who our experts and owners are, kind of overview of other information about this asset. If we wanted to, we could actually click here and actually navigate back to this asset in Purview. So this is true bidirectional integration and bidirectional navigation. And from here, we can now start to explore this data, right? Is this really what I was after? So what we can do next is we can search for one of those troubled customers that we're looking at, or where there were some obvious duplicates. And here we can see that full support supply. There are indeed 4 different permutations of full support supply within this data set that's under management within Profisee. We can open up one of these records. We can see that record, see the details. And from a matching perspective, we can actually dive into and look at how these 4 records ultimately were matched together. and became a group represented by a golden record. Now, this is one area where we can see Profisee's approach to adaptive MDM. So compared to some other vendors in the market, it would be a lot easier for Profisee to deliver a matching engine if we only fixed around a specific domain and gave you a really predefined matching process that you had to adapt your data to. So for example, if we had a B2B matching process or a consumer or person matching process, that could be hard coded around a particular set of identifiers. And it'd be a lot easier for us, but it'd be a lot harder for customers than to adapt their data and their identifiers to that model. So our approach to matching is different. Now we allow you to pick which identifying attributes you want to use, which you can see here, all the various identifiers that were in play for this particular data set. And then you get to pick the matching rules, right? You get to pick which attributes we want to try and which combinations. And so it makes it easy for customers to match, in this case, businesses, but also match people or products or locations, really any domain of data. And with any set of identifying attributes that you have, you can leverage with the Profisee matching engine. So that's an example of how we've taken an adaptive approach to MDM from a matching perspective. Now, in this case, the first thing we might want to understand is, why did this group form? Who matched to whom? And how did this group come to be? And so we can actually visualize this matching result. In this case, we can see which record was sort of the key actor that caused this group to come together. In this case, we can also see the details behind the match, right? So another benefit of our approach to matching is that you have transparency into the process, which is critical for business stakeholders to really gain trust in the process itself. So here we can see, the phone, this particular record matched on phone number being identical and the names being relatively similar. We can actually drill into the details and see the actual algorithm behind the scenes that we're using to calculate that. And so at this point, we say, yes, this looks like a good match. And we can flip back over here to survivorship mode and actually approve this record into the group. So we now have a good group. We're happy with the results here. And the other thing to be aware of from a matching perspective is this concept of a golden record. The goal here is to actually create the best golden record that's a good representative or a best representation of the data in the group. So we can see here all the various attributes that were in play from a matching perspective. So those were all of our matching identifiers. And then from a survivorship perspective, we can see, what information has been populated under the golden record, which might help us in our analysis of the source data. And we can do things like manual survivorship. We could, for example, pick which address, or in this case, we've got the state of Texas populated up here, but really Illinois is a better selection. So this is an example where there's an automated process that we configure. And in this example, we've kind of set this up to show how a data steward can actually come here and manually override the automatic formation of that golden record to really make sure that we have the best information available about this organization. We'll see how that affects our analysis when we circle back to that here at the end of the demo. So that's matching, and that's one of the more critical capabilities of an MDM platform. But there's a number of other things that you should be looking at when it comes to master data management. And so what we're going to do is actually navigate back to the homepage of our Profisee application. And another thing that an MDM application has to have is a way of orchestrating a process that spans business functions within the organization. And the way we do that is through our workflow engine. So on my Profisee homepage, we highlight here any notifications that are received. Notifications are basically a way of letting somebody know that there's work to be done. These notifications also come through to me in my email inbox. So if there's something I need to do, I'm aware of it right when that work becomes available. We also have over here a task that's been issued to me. In this case, it's an approval task. And so what we're doing here is making it really easy for your data stewards to understand when there's work to be done and easily access that work. As far as the actual workflow process goes itself, that's another example where Profisee takes this adaptive approach to MDM. So, a lot of times vendors will sort of create some canned workflow processes that you can leverage and sort of use out of the box. But a lot that, real business processes are typically complicated. And so while Profisee also has the ability to provide, templates for common workflow and process patterns, at the end of the day, our customers benefit from the ability to create their own process templates using for Profisee's workflow engine through a drag and drop authoring experience, allows you to define a process that maps back to your actual business processes. So in this case, I've been assigned an approval task as a part of one of those overarching workflows. In this case, I can open up this customer record. I can review all the various information about this organization. And if everything looks good, in this case, since it's an approval task, I can either approve or reject this record. So in this case, I'm approving. That says, hey, this information looks good. It's ready to go on to whatever the next step is in the process that my organization has defined. So that's adaptive data management from a workflow and process perspective. Now we're going to talk about sort of the multi-domain facet of the Profisee platform. So we've really always had a sort of premise of you can model and manage anything, right? We're not a customer-oriented MDM platform. We're not a product or any other particular domain. We've always focused from day one on making sure that any organization from any vertical for any use case can manage the data they need to solve their business problems. And so you can see on this homepage is something that reflects that, right? We've got your two most common domains around customers and products. We also have, in this case, a domain around properties. We've got business partners in here that could be more like vendors, but also reference data, right? Any major master data management domain typically is going to be supported by reference data, but reference data can also be, in effect, a domain unto itself. And so, this demonstrates the ability of Profisee to really span all the various domains that you may need to solve your underlying business problem, and then to create these fast apps that could be organized by sort of business function, or could be organized by individual domain, that allows us to create a curated experience for a given audience, right? So in this case, I can jump into my product fast app, and this is where we've actually created a data stewardship experience through configuration that presents the information needed for my data stewards who are responsible for managing product data. And so here we are, we're landed on the homepage of this fast app. And one thing you can see here is we made it very easy to find particular records of interest, right? So I can visually filter down to road bikes and find the information that I need. And data quality is, of course, another key component of any MDM platform. And so what I've done here is I've actually sorted my grid here to really highlight or bring to the top of the list any product records that have some sort of a data quality issue. And I can click on one of those data quality issues and get a sneak peek into actually what the underlying data challenge is, right? In this case, there's a fairly simple rule, which is product line is required. But Profisee also allows you to create, sophisticated or complex data quality rules that, in this case, can operate off of some sort of math, right? So we're doing a calculation saying that the MSRP must be at least 50% greater than standard cost, right? We need to maintain some sort of minimum margins on our product. So someone must have gone in and increased the standard cost, and that led to a data quality issue around MSRP. So we can see those data quality issues highlighted, and if we open up the record, we'll actually see the individual fields highlighted that are causing these data quality issues to surface. So in this case, we can see our MSRP issue. We just go in here and change that to some higher value. We've got this form was configured with the dealer cost and the standard cost, right there on the screen as well. We can also see here that we need to go ahead and assign a product line. So we'll assign road bike. And so we can go ahead and make those changes and save it. And Profisee's data quality engine is always on. It's always watching for data changes, and it's always reevaluating and change records for data quality. In this case, as this record is saved, that data quality will be reevaluated. I'll see here that both of those issues are cleared up, and actually that record on the left-hand side actually sorts back out of our list, right? It no longer floats to the top of the list as having a data quality issue. So that's data quality. Those are easily configured rules that you configure on top of your model. So again, these are your rules on your data that you're able to configure yourself. Now, another key facet of master data management is that, master data is not just simply, a single table of data. Master data is really a rich, complex set of relationships, that are represented across your data. So in this case, we can open up Profisee's relationship management experience. This allows us to actually visualize all the relationships that have been configured within my data. So here we can see that individual road bike product that we were on. If we want to go ahead and open that up and look at the details of that, we can do that. So now we can get into the details of this. This is not just a read-only visual of your data, but this is a true data stewardship experience where I can open up and edit any record within this experience. And so, but I can also navigate. So in this case, maybe I want to navigate to, my road bikes subcategory up to my bikes category. And then from there, I want to navigate back down to my touring bikes category and look at all my various touring bike products. Well, I can do that within this experience just by navigating around my data, and what's really like a three-dimensional navigation experience. But then I always have a breadcrumb trail that leads me back to the start. So think of that as kind of like the back button in your browser. Here you can see the association we made on the as we were fixing our data quality issues between this product back to its product line. But we can also see things like this bicycle is manufactured by Felt Bikes, which is a US-based bike manufacturer, which means this United Kingdom association, as far as country of manufacturer, must be incorrect. So this is, again, a full stewardship experience. So what I can do here is actually disassociate this particular product from the United Kingdom and go ahead and reassociate it with the United States. And so, again, this is a way of me managing the relationships with my data in a much more visual and engaging way. So that is relationship management. But then relationships can also be used to be chained together into a more of a traditional hierarchy experience as well. So within Profisee, as you configure different relationships in your data, you can configure a sequence of those relationships to then drive more of a hierarchy-based experience. So now we've flipped over to a different page in this Fast app, which we're using to render a product hierarchy. And here we can start to navigate through this hierarchy. We can always, I'm going through my retail, my bikes, my mountain bikes. And as we get down to the leaf records within this hierarchy, we can actually open up individual records and steward that data there. So this provides just a different way of organizing your data, but also for many organizations, when they're doing analytics, they want to be able to create and maintain these types of hierarchical structures, which is then fed downstream into analytics that provide things like drill down reporting and aggregated roll-ups of data. But this is not just an experience for viewing data. This is also a stewardship experience. And so here we can see an obvious issue. Someone has miscategorized these 4 products as a mountain bike, whereas really these are frames that we would sell from a wholesale perspective. So in this case, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and multi-select these 4 records. I'll go into my hierarchy and I will actually search for the right place. I can go ahead and do a search here. Mountain frames, that is what I'm looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. So now what I have is on the left, we have where these records currently sit in the hierarchy. On the right, we can see where we're proposing placing these records or moving them to in the hierarchy. So I can see basically a before and after type of experience. And if this looks good to me, I go ahead and click this little check mark button here. What that will do is actually reassign those frames underneath the appropriate product subcategory and clean up my hierarchy. So that is hierarchy management. Now we're going to show a bit of stewardship capabilities that leverage some of our newer capabilities around OpenAI and adaptive cards. So going back here to my products page, in this case, one thing we've added with OpenAI is the ability to more easily find the data you want without necessarily having to build out a filter manually. And so here's an example of that. I'm just looking for all my products with warm colors. Let's say we're about to do some sort of major change to our product catalog, and we want to understand which colors are warm colors. So I could have built this filter out manually by point and clicking my way through this experience. In this case, I'm going to describe the records that I'm looking for. In this case, it's warm colors. And leveraging OpenAI, we're actually able to go out and figure out, okay, these are the subset of colors within our overall data set that are warm. And we're using that to then build this filter out for you automatically. I go ahead and save that filter, and boom, I've filtered my 514 records down to 74 by just typing a couple words that describe what I'm after. So that's the use of OpenAI within the product, provide a natural language search experience. We also have the ability to actually use OpenAI from a stewardship perspective. So this is actually solving a long-standing problem in the MDM space, and that is that when I create this product, in this scenario, maybe we're looking at reselling this product here, right? So this is a bicycle that exists on Walmart's website. And inside of here, we have this long form description, as well as a lot of sort of specifications for this particular product. And historically, if I wanted to create a product in our catalog based off of this, what I would have to do is actually read through all that text and manually find all the various values, right? What are the dimensions? Which color is it? What is the name of the product? What category does it roll up to, et cetera? But in this case, what we can do using OpenAI is just paste that information as input, unstructured data. And what we're now doing is we're making a call out to OpenAI. We're doing a little bit of prompt engineering to ground OpenAI into what it is that's going on here. And OpenAI is actually able to go in and identify what's an appropriate product name, what are appropriate dimensions. In this case, we're also doing things like grounding OpenAI and what are the available of values available from a color perspective, right? That product on its page was listed as light blue, but we don't actually have light blue as one of our standard product colors. And that's how we want to display products on our website from a search perspective. So we're actually giving it that context so OpenAI can select the best available value from the list of available values. And anywhere that we've actually leveraged OpenAI, we are highlighting those fields in blue. So this allows you as a data steward to easily see where OpenAI, where this large language model was used to generate data for the Profisee platform. But then also it's easy to then tell where information was not filled out. So I, as a human, can sort of oversee OpenAI and then fill in any remaining blanks. So in this case, there was not necessarily a SKU listed in here. So I'm going to call this as the Huffy Nelluso 26-inch blue bike. I'll give that a SKU and go ahead and save this new record. So leveraging this, we were very easily able to create this new record without having to go through and hand key all that information in. So now that we've created that record, one thing you'll see here is that MSRP and cost information is all something that needs to be filled in, but it's not necessarily something that myself as a product manager am supposed to be doing. This MSRP actually needs to be filled in by someone on the finance team. So this is where adaptive cards in place. So historically, what would happen here is you'd copy a link to this, or you'd email somebody. They'd have to go log in. They'd have to navigate with this record. They'd have to find that work. So they'd have to get out of whatever application they're currently working in, log into the Profisee platform to do that work. And as easy as we made it, it's even better if they could just do that work in the applications that they already use. And this is where our integration with adaptive cards come in. Aptly named, it aligns well to our adaptive approach to MDM. But adaptive cards themselves is a new product capability from Microsoft. Again, this is another private preview program that Profisee participated in. And what adaptive cards allows us to do is to actually collaborate on the stewardship of data within the applications that users are already in every day, right? And in this case, that's either Microsoft Outlook or Microsoft Teams. So with adaptive cards, the new capability here, so this is in public preview now alongside adaptive cards itself going into public preview in the recent past, is we can now share this record to Microsoft Teams. So we click this share button. What that does is brings up a dialog here within the Profisee portal. What I can do now is decide who from the finance department or which group of individuals even would I like to start a conversation with about this record and begin the work of stewarding this data. So as this dialog pops up, I can go ahead and type in here, the individual from the finance team that I'm looking at managing this data with. So in this case, I'll pick Jordan Davis. I could put in a brief description here, asking, what am I sending? Why am I sending this data to you? Fill out MSRP. All right. And we'll go ahead and send this record to Jordan. So what that's going to do is actually open up Microsoft Teams. Go ahead and bring that over here. So as I bring that over here into Microsoft Teams, what we're now seeing is that this individual record has been sent to Jordan with the request. I can show and hide the details. That allows Jordan to see the information here. And he could even open this record up, which gives him the full stewardship experience from the Profisee platform here within Microsoft Teams, allowing him to complete that work. So now we're able to take the efforts of stewardship from the Profisee platform natively within the teams. I can work and collaborate with Jordan on filling out that data. So hopping back over here to my demo. So that shows how we can use OpenAI to accelerate the finding of records, the creation of records, and then adaptive cards to actually collaborate on records natively within tools like Microsoft Teams or Outlook. So we've started with customer data. We've shown a number of other capabilities from a MDM perspective within the Profisee portal. And now what we're ready to do is actually turn back to our original challenge, which is leveraging this better information for analysis. So moving back over here to Microsoft Fabric. Remember, we had these duplicate full sports supply, these duplicate Alyssa Cox records, some obvious issues with their data. And then we also know that as we were sorting the data, we saw some issues with our states. So for example, note here that we have California listed as having 24% of our sales. What we can do now within the Fabric experience is bring this better information into my One Lake. And I can do this now using a data factory natively within the Fabric experience. Now, Profisee has a native Power Query connector. And what that allows us to do is to bring data into Profisee in a native way using data factory within Fabric. So by that connector existing and having it been certified by Microsoft, what that means is here within the data factory experience, Profisee shows up as a first-party data source. And all we need to do to bring this data in is paste the URL of the Profisee environment that we would like to connect to. Once we've authenticated, we can click Next. And now natively within Fabric, I have access to all the master data that's available within the Profisee platform. And I can go ahead and select the data set I'm interested in and then bring that into my environment. So in this case, it was the customer B2B data set, which is the information that I needed to build out my analytics. So go ahead and select that. And what we'll see here is a sample of data that's displayed to me. Yep, this is the information that I'm looking for to build out my better analytics. I go ahead and click Create. So now I've started creating here as a data flow. From here, I can go ahead and select the destination that I'd like to put this data into within my One Lake. And from there, I can actually start building out, I have the information that I need to go and augment and build out a better analytics solution within Power BI. All right, so we'll go ahead and close that out. And with that information, we can now go, build out, a new analysis that's after MDM. And a couple things. Obviously, now using that data, we can see that our original 4 full support supply records have all been brought together underneath the golden record. So now it's much easier for us to understand what the actual value of those customers are. But then the other thing you notice here is that the actual distribution of sales by state has been altered. And that's because we've actually created some better quality information where the state stamped on each of our customer records is actually more accurate than it was on our original raw data. So I now have the information I need to build out this analytics. But the other exciting thing here is that with that Power BI connector, we can actually build mashups of data, leveraging master data, leveraging transactional data. So here, I've been able to build out a dashboard that shows the quality of my address data, the quality of my email addresses, how many data quality issues I have within my system. I can see various roll-ups of customer data by kind of source records, based off of standardized values. And all this information is actually linkable here, right? So with Profisee, we can actually create links directly to individual records. And I've leveraged that within this Power BI report to actually embed deep links to individual records within my data set. And then what's really exciting here is how we can then sort of connect these experiences together, where now we can take that Power BI content that I've created that's really a mashup of master data and transactional data. And then I can embed that Power BI content here within the Profisee portal. So here's that exact same Power BI content delivered natively in the Profisee portal. So now I can actually add transactional context to my master data, deliver that within the Profisee experience without having to copy all that transactional, sales data into the Profisee platform. And since we have the ability to deep link, what we can actually do here is click on this record. And that will actually navigate us from Profisee into that individual record that exists within the Profisee platform. So we can really build out these sort of rich round trip experiences where we can glue together master data management and analytics, and then create navigational paths for users within that. So hopefully that helps everybody understand, how Profisee works with Purview, how Profisee works with Fabric, the baseline capabilities of a master data management platform, and how we've taken this concept of adaptive and woven it through all the capabilities of the platform.
Okay, excellent, Eric. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Let me just reshare my screen. And there we go. So what Eric showed you there was a whole lot of stuff. We covered a lot of ground in that very short demo there. What Eric did, though, was take from the perspective of a business or analytics user, kind of go through the whole interaction of the MDM process, the data and the reports and analytics that you can then get out of it, showing you the before and after of raw data that has not been mastered, you can certainly, in a tool set like Fabric or any other tool set, you can report on that data, but you may be getting the wrong results. After you've been through the whole process of governance and match and merge, the stewardship, and all of the ways that can be accomplished, you can get the right data, or you should be getting the right data, which is going to give you insights that are actually helpful as opposed to potentially misleading. And because we took Eric took the perspective of a data steward, we didn't necessarily show you how some of those things get configured. But hopefully you can see that the adaptiveness of the software, the different software components interacting with each other, but also how they're configured, actually you have an awful lot of flexibility in how that's done, but it's done through drag and drop, no code, no script. So setting it up and configuring it, making it adapt to your use cases actually doesn't take any longer. In fact, we're pretty well known for having a very rapid time to value. So with that, we have hopefully shown you how we are adaptive, how our company philosophy is to be adaptive to our customers in order to maximally help them. But also more importantly here in this particular session is how the software adapts to your data, your strategy, your requirements, and gives you a very tightly fitting solution that helps you. So with that, thank you, Eric, our favorite data hero, but also thank you everybody on the session here. Hopefully you found that valuable. Thanks a lot.